Cool.
Okay.
Yes. So
So we got 1 minute to go. You're gone, not 1 minute. We're ready to go. Check your time.
cool. Yeah.
We're like,
So this poster will be there itself.
close, please.
Yeah, close this. But I want this screen. Well, shall we go ahead?
Stop the screen, sir.
What has to be done, sir?
Stop screen.
Top screen. Like it's not happening. View profile. So I believe like we can go ahead, right? Mr. Prasanna,
Not at all,
sir.
sir. If you just
Huh?
have to stop it. Stop it. You just have to stop the screening, share screening. There is a button there.
We need to stop sharing. Stop share. Okay. Yeah, cool. Shall we go ahead?
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
Well, good evening, Somdatta Mitra and Prasanna. Well, it's an honor to be inviting Somdatta Mitra for the show. Welcome to my show, The Interviewer, and which has been sponsored by Fertile Brains. So let's welcome Somdatta Mitra onto our show with a good round of applause for the interview. So how do you feel the vibe and the excitement?
Thank you so much. First of all, I would wholeheartedly want to thank Mr. K. Kumar Prasanna for encouraging me and inviting me in this wonderful platform of the Fertile Brains. And the interviewer is quite a motivating platform for me, at least. And I want to thank Mr. Laxman Rao for also encouraging me and bringing me here. So thank you, sir, for this invitation. I am
Well,
really delighted and very, very glad to be amidst the poetic environment today in the evening, and I am also excited about my viewers who will be watching me today. Thank you, viewers,
well,
for watching me here on this platform in this
thanks
evening.
for coming, Somdatta Mitra. That's so nice of you. Here, I would like to have a small intro of you in my own words. Mrs. Somdatta Mitra had a graduation in English literature from Delhi University. She is an established and an acclaimed writer for innovative techniques in creative writing. She is a published author who writes in English and an articulate orator, a painter, a peace ambassador, and an entrepreneur. She hails from the city of joy, the Calcutta. So let's welcome Somdatta Mitra for our show, The Interview. So here we go with our questionnaire. So Somdatta Mitra ji. So as you said, like, how did poetry happen to you? First tense.
To be very honest, initially in my school days or in my college days, I was actually a painter in the beginning.
Cool.
And I always used to collect words. That was my passion or a hobby, you may say, because in school it becomes a hobby for the young children.
Okay.
So as a child, I really used to sit in my free time, in my leisure hours. I used to collect a lot of words from the dictionary. Dictionary
Okay.
was my best friend at that time.
Best friend. Okay.
So gradually, I started writing letters to my friends because
Okay.
I was born in Kolkata and I was brought up in Delhi. I was, brought up at Noida, Uttar Pradesh. So I used to write letters to my friends who were my childhood friends here in Kolkata. And that's how writing the the connectivity with writing started.
Started.
And
Okay.
when I was an adult and I was pursuing my master's in English literature, I had to unfortunately come back to Kolkata because my father was very sick. He was suffering from lung cancer, and we had no other options than to, come back to Kolkata, because from Delhi, while I was pursuing my master's, I had to go to Nepal. And from Nepal, I had to come back again to Kolkata for my father's treatment. So at that time, I was a loner because I lost my father. I was very much attached to him, and during that time, I started making pen pals. And I used to write very lengthy letters to them. Whatever used to come in my mind, like one writes in a diary, I used to write letters to my pen pals. While I was, upbringing my son towards a kind of motivation into various, inter-class competitions, into extracurriculars, my son was very much enthusiastic in participating in recitation competitions and writing competitions, debates, and all that. And I was grooming him. So one fine day, what happened? He was participating in one such competition and he refused not to participate. That gave me a lot of pain, and from that day I decided, why shouldn't I participate if he is reluctant?
Okay.
That was
So
the
you got
turning point
motivated
in my
through him.
life.
So you got motivated through him.
I got motivated through that, and I
Okay.
started connecting to the online people who
Right.
were organizers at that time.
Okay.
And it happened that I started my writing journey through anthologies. I have
Okay.
completed
So
more than
do you feel like
1,500 anthologies.
do you feel like subconsciously you had a writer within you and something, that spark had come into place wherein like that had to bring in the poet out of you?
Yes, while I was, first, published through the anthologies,
Okay.
then I got every person needs
Gut
a
feeling. You got
motivation.
that gut
If
feeling,
you,
confidence.
yes,
You
I
got
beg
that
your
gut
pardon.
feeling and the confidence.
Yes, while you get a kind of appreciation, you get the
Yeah.
motivation. Then
Motivation.
you're
Yeah.
serious about that thing.
Yeah.
You really mirrored that
Yeah.
something is within you. So I
Yeah.
started realizing while I was pursuing the anthologies, I
Okay.
started realizing there is a voice within me which wants to, rise through my
Right.
expressions. And
And
that's
which
how
people are
poetry
accepting
connected
as well.
to me.
And
Yes,
which
sir.
people are accepting as well.
Yes, and I was getting recognitions
Recognition.
parallelly.
Yeah.
So thereby I got to, realize that there is a poet hidden inside me. Somehow
Hidden.
that poet can get a kind of, bloom or a kind of
Okay.
essence to really
Okay.
rise.
Just because you had a very fond of words and all, as I said, like subconsciously they were all hidden in your beneath, and when you wanted to write, they came out spontaneously, infusing you or else amusing you with the words, so that the words could flow very easily for you. That's what I feel.
Can you, sir, repeat what you asked me?
So as you said, like in the initial days, you were with working with the words and all. You are curious with the
Yes,
dictionary. Okay,
yes,
subconsciously they were there hidden in beneath you.
yes, yes,
So when you started exploring the poet in you, so they became
yes.
your musings. So that helped you and evolved you to write more, much better. This is what I feel.
It was an intense passion to really play with words right from the very early childhood in my
Okay.
life, as I have mentioned. And
Okay.
while I was into anthologies, that really provoked me to, really explore the dictionary. Why this book is there in my, on my lap. So I have to make use of it. So I started exploring the words. I started exploring synonyms. I started exploring new
Rhyme rhythm.
phrases, idioms, and all
Yeah.
these things. Because I was a teacher. I mean, I am
Okay.
a teacher. I have been exploring students over their, intellect. So these helped me a lot while teaching as well as writing. Both the things
Well,
were connected.
well, if at all, I have to ask you, like, what does poetry mean to you? Like, in the sense, like, how do you describe or define poetry? How could you do that?
To me, poetry means when you are, in a state where you understand that your expression needs a kind of sprouting. It wants to spring from your soul. directly, instantly, passionately, then you cannot just resist writing. Your pen automatically gets involved with your hands and it comes out. It automatically generates that feelings through your ink, and your ink bleeds. And this happens to me every time.
It's the
It's
upsurge
not
flow of
that something
emotions.
I plan and then I write. It's not
Yeah.
that. It's
Okay.
out of an emotion which sprouts, which springs, which, culminates out of my passion.
So you mean to say like you are an instinctive or a naturalistic writer?
I am a natural instinctive writer, you can
Right.
say.
Cool. That's great.
Yes.
Because see, certain poets, we can't say as poets, like certain writers, what they do is like they are methodical. Okay, in the sense
Yes.
like they pick up topics like the moon, the sun, the earth, the landscape, whatsoever, and they pick up the subject and later on they try to derive a poem. Okay, but for many people, like it's just a spark of a thought or else a spark of emotion, like that gives the impulsive, that instinctiveness to go ahead and write it. Okay, that makes them sit and write it across. So that's how like some naturalistic poets do. So that's what I am into it. So it's nice to know like you are a part of that genre kind of a poet. Thank you on that note. Well, coming to your title, like how did you end up with the title, The Spectrum of Emotions?
See, basically, I'm a very emotional person.
Oh,
Okay. Every time, whenever I'm connecting to my surroundings,
okay.
may it be relations, may it be nature, may it be my friends, or may it be just my, homemade who helps me in my household chores. Anyone it is, any creature it is, any situation it is, I am emotional about everything surrounding me.
More
So
than
I
emotional,
thought
more than emotional, I feel like the poets are the most sensible and sensitive kind. What do you say?
poets are, because if you're
More,
not
they are
sensitive
more
towards your
sensitive and
surroundings,
sensible. Yeah,
how can you just create that
yeah,
enthusiasm in you?
yeah,
I mean, the enthusiasm is not a manufacture of your
yeah. So the
of your
the reaction will be
mechanism.
more spontaneous from these poets. They are more reactive, responsive. That's what I
Yes,
feel.
for me, I can say that whenever I feel that, I am emotional about anything, it generates a kind of, a kind of poetry within. I mean,
Yeah,
some voice always, triggers inside me that, you express yourself.
yeah.
Why you're hiding it?
Yeah. So this is what you have said. Like this book is a color. This book is like a color palette of life and emotions, but which
Exactly.
is
All the
exactly.
colors that,
Yeah,
yes, all the colors are there in our lives. It's
yeah.
not only joy, it's not only happiness, it's not only sorrows or melancholy, or, a person is morose. There are so many spectrum in our
So
lives.
yeah, when I read your book, like I find varied emotions, like myriad moods of. You are touched on different topics altogether. It's not like if you read a certain poets, what happens is like we'll come to know in some 5 to 6 poems, like he has certain style and substance, like he goes on with the flow. But you have chosen certain themes and subjects wherein like they all vary from one to another. That's a different. That's a unique factor which I appreciate in this book. Well, and at the outset, Somdatta Mitra, like you have said that you have mentioned in the book, like this is a work of fiction rather of poetry. So why is that you had mentioned it as a fiction?
It's a fiction because my emotions were real while I
Okay,
was writing this,
okay,
but everything is not a reality in all the poems.
okay,
It's my own imagination.
okay,
I write through my imaginations mostly.
okay,
I try to bring the kind of realities also, but I try to blend it with my imagination. That is
okay.
why it's a fiction.
Okay. See, from my perspective, like a poet is not a personal person. Once you come into the public domain with your poetry, he is no more a personal person. The reason why I had to say this is like once you bring in your book, like the readers, they try to judge you or they try to perceive you from your poems. It's not, although we cover ourselves behind a veil, but thing is like when the reader reads, he represents or thinks or reads from your perspective, and he personifies through you, through the poems, he personifies you. So that is where I say like poetry has to be reflected as its own. We can't fictionalize it because poet represents himself directly. If at all you go with a novel, you can play with characters. But when you go with the poetry, you have to go self. This is what I feel.
No,
What is
I completely do not agree with you, sir.
okay? You differ
It's
with my
like
thought.
it's like it depends on one's thoughts.
Okay.
What that person is thinking at that moment when that person is writing.
Okay.
Everything, every moment, every situation, it's not similar.
Yeah.
Suppose I have experienced a person's death in my life. That is reality. I am sketching that experience there through my poem. But there is something at night, suppose I'm sleeping, all of a sudden I am restless. I feel that some imagination has engulfed me and I want to pour it down in a paper and I cannot sleep. And what is it? Those expressions are fictional. That is not anything connected to reality. It's my inner thought.
Yeah.
I think it in my own way.
Yeah, that there are certain subjects very like I do agree with your notion here. Like there are certain subjects we take as spark of emotion that we try to pen it down, and they are
Exactly.
imaginative poems. But there are certain aspects of personal life which triggers the subconsciousness, wherein we relate with that of imagination and we try to put it across in the paper.
Exactly.
So even that
Yes.
happens. Now,
Yes.
I agree on that note as well. Well, coming to the next question here. So, how poetic are you on your daily basis? How poetic can you be?
See, it's not a mechanism. I repeat
Yeah.
once again. It's an emotion.
Yeah,
A
it's not
poet is
mechanical.
an
It's not
emotional person.
materialistic deed. Yeah.
Yes. Whenever there is an emotion triggering me, I feel that is sprouting, that is, provoking me to bring out a substance out of that, then only I pour it down in the paper. It's not that a mechanism that every day I have to write or every hour I have to write a poem. It's not that. It's only when I feel that something, there is an evocation within, then only it comes out.
Well, at times what happens is like if at all we have certain pain, let's assume like we have certain pain, melancholic mood. When we try to write it down, we may try to exaggerate a bit. So, do you have to say something about this? Because I have discussed with some poets, they have written to an extent wherein like they've gone to a killing spear, like a suicidal note. I said like, why is this? Why do you want to write to that extent? They said like it's just an exaggeration, or else when you go into the mood, when you just get carried away with the thought process. So, does that happen with you?
Like at times, if there is an intense feeling which has,
Yeah.
suppose an incident has hurt me, a person has hurt me, that is an intense feeling when you're dejected. Okay, that is burning inside you. It needs a kind of voice to vocify it.
Yeah.
So there I might just feel, why should I construct it or restrain it or give a limitation to only two stanzas. I want to extend it further. If I feel that my emotions are more than what I have written, then
Yeah.
definitely I will extend it.
So
It depends on the situation
extension
and the
is one
emotion.
thing. Extension is one thing, but exaggeration is another thing. Like you take it
No,
to the next level.
exaggeration, I won't say it in that manner. It depends on my emotion.
It
Again, I
depends
would repeat.
upon person to person and poet to a poet. That's the thing.
Exactly. It
Yeah.
differs from
Yeah.
person to person.
Oh. Well, Somdatta, like I just want to ask you this question, like which is very much curious and curious question to me as well. The reason is like you said like you are a literature student and you might have read Shakespeare, Keats, Wordsworth, all the classics you might have read. And why is that like you have chosen the free verse rather any of the pattern form of poetry?
Can you, sir, please repeat what you said? I could not hear you.
Okay, coming back to the question again, like as you said, like you have read literature, you have done your literature, you have done your literature, you have known Shakespeare, Keatsian words, LGs, sonnets, other stuff. And why is that you are stuck with free verse?
free words. What is
Yeah.
it? That
Free verse, the form which you have written in poetry, it's called as free verse.
oh, free verse. Okay, free verse. Yes. Uh, First of all, I would like to say I took a lot of time in understanding where I exist as a poet. That is very
Okay.
important for a poet to understand.
Okay.
And that was a learning journey that I was pursuing. I was
Okay.
learning. I'm still learning.
Mhm.
Okay, learning doesn't end. So initially, I began with a free verse because I'm very comfortable expressing myself in a free verse.
Yeah.
I slowly and gradually started learning the other styles also. It's not that I'm not working or I haven't worked on them. I
Okay.
started learning, but I
Okay.
was not confident enough to publish those poems into a book. Maybe in the next book I will come up with a collection of those. But since this is my debut solo book, so I thought first I would work with the free verse one, then slowly and gradually I will blend it and I will give a mixture of all the poetic styles.
Cool. So you got to know like why I had to ask this question, because if you are not a literature student, I would have not asked this question, because being a literature student, like we'll come across all the. I have been a literature student. I have read the Shakespeare sonnets, Keats odes, elegies, tanka, haiku, all these forms of poetry. Uh, so I gradually started writing poetry, and then I started with condensing of a thought, and it just went on. So that's how. Like it differs from person. Like there's nothing much to say on that part.
Mm.
So, and the other thing, like if at all I ask you, like what would be your favorite lines from the book which you have written? So, do you have any catchy
Well,
lines from?
before I answer this,
Yeah,
I would like to relate one line over
yeah,
your mention just a few
yeah.
minutes back. You mentioned uh, that it is not necessary that each and every literature student who is learning literature has to be a poet,
No,
and it
nobody
is
will.
also a
Nobody will turn
reality.
out to be a poet for that matter.
No,
On a
I
yearly
have
basis,
seen. I have seen.
we have say about lakhs of students who are coming out of the colleges, but nobody turns out to be a poet, or to even to practice poetry. There's nobody until unless there's an instinct with them. They don't try
Exactly,
to write poetry.
exactly so.
Yeah,
So until and unless we all read all those poetic devices or poetic
yeah,
styles, we are acquainted with everything. We mirrored them also while we are learning. But when there is a poet inside us, then only we try to explore it. It is
yeah.
like that. So it takes time. Maybe some people they do it at a very early age, some people do it at a very later age.
Let us
It
page.
depends from person to person. So
Yeah.
for me, it's a kind of journey still going on. So I'm working and learning and then exploring. It's like that. So someday I will definitely work on those things and publish a book on a mixture and blending of the poetic styles and the poetic this various kinds of poetry in my book.
Well,
And
well, Somdatta, like when I read your book, what I found is like you have brought in some many alien words in the sense like forest words. So it's a compliment. On one side, it's a compliment sort of thing. On the other hand, like it's a, I feel like have you deliberately brought in the toughness into the poetry?
see, I would say in this respect, it's a personal choice. I mean,
Okay,
everybody has their personal choice of, how they will,
personal choice of words.
yes, how they will, give a kind of embellishment to their content.
Yeah,
So, yeah, there are people who really want to make it very simple and they
simple.
want
Yeah,
to, yeah, they want to just use very, very natural and common words in their verses. Uh, since I said that my first connectivity and passion and hobby was to explore words, and I
words.
was
Yeah,
very fond of the dictionary. So while I was exploring those words, I thought of, using them,
using
applying
this.
them in my poems also.
Yeah,
That way it happened. But now that I have a little bit of journey over this, I understand that for the readers, one has to make it a little bit simpler form so that everybody understands what you're writing. It's
yeah.
not only for you that
Yeah,
you want
true,
to taste,
true.
you want to
So
taste
that
food
is where I
every
am
time.
coming to. That is where I am coming to. Because even if you read Shakespeare or Keats, they have balanced verses in such a style wherein like even the flow should be seamless. Poetry, what matters is the flow should be seamless. Your voice should speak of its own. It's not the words like the vowel sound, the sounds, the rhythm, the internal
No,
rhyme.
I would, I'm so sorry, I would interrupt once here. Uh, it all depends on one's personal choice while one is writing.
Yes, see,
There is no particular rule as such for writing poetry. There are certain attributes which we really mirror while we write. After knowing them, we write. But as such, there are no boundaries for a poet to follow. What we understand that, this is the first experience. Through the first experience we learn something, then we go to the next experience, and through that we really want to explore more out of us, what kind of a personality we are, and how our inner vision or envision are culminating out of our works. So this is what
good.
has happened with me as well.
Good. That's nice on from your perspective. But what I mean to say is like, for all we read the great legends, okay, we can find the verses smoothly flowing. Like we can feel the internal rhythm, the rhyme scheme, internal rhyme scheme. We can find the vowel sounds, the meter. We can feel it, we can sense it. But when we come up with some different words altogether, it's like we are playing with the words rather with the rhyme scheme, rather with the flow. The pattern of the flow, it's getting disturbed here and there. So that is what I felt in your verses.
I thank you for giving me your suggestions or opinions or your reviews.
No, that's
But
my
what I
personal
understand
perception.
out of my thought process, or
Yeah.
out of my observations over reading others' poems, reading the poetry of the great legends, no one single poet is has worked which has a similarity with the other.
Uh,
Everybody is different in their
Everybody is
perspectives
unique.
and their
Everybody is unique.
experiences.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think every poet has the freedom
But
to work on
but
their own way.
I have to compliment you here in this case, like wherein the way you have brought in the words, you have very good command on the language, and you have very good voice. Tonality is very good. But given the chance and the choice of words, like it may take some time for you to figure out like how to go with the flow. So you have a natural flow. That there's no doubt about it. But you have your own perception perspective. Uh, you just go ahead. There's no stopping. Well, going to the next question, so let's be cool and composed. Like things in poetry, poetry is something that flows. It's quite natural. Like poetry is something that flows, that comes out as it is and that flows. That's what I believe in. So how do you feel before composing or after composing the poem?
What I feel before composing and after composing the poem.
Because
Before
see,
composing the
we get a spark of a thought. Okay, we get excited, we get motivated, we try to write it, and after doing the stuff, we get relieved from it, I feel. So what do we experience with that?
every time it happens with me, the same
Yeah,
thing,
yeah.
it gets repeated. It's the
Okay,
same thing which is generated inside me, a voice which needs an evocation. And when it evokes me to write something over an emotion, I just leave all my work, whatever I'm doing.
that's great.
If ever I was teaching my son or teaching my students, that's a different thing. Then also I used to be restless while I was teaching, because this is a kind of intensity in a poet. And with
Yeah,
that intensity, uh, unless and until I put it to paper, till the time I put it to paper, all my emotions disturb me. And it gives me a jerk. Now you write, now you pour it down. So when I finally write it, I feel that, can I mirror myself with the content, what I have written? Is the emotion that I have put, suppose I'm angry over a certain situation, and in a haste, I have just written what was in my mind. Then I connect to it. Is it a reality? Is it a kind of situation
Validation.
which has enveloped me?
Yeah.
So this is the question which arises after I finish
Yeah.
writing.
Yeah. So
But
the critics comes later, you mean to say.
Yes, but I always tell to myself that for me, I don't know about others, because as I said, every poet has their own vision, every writer has their own perception. I have my own perception. I always feel that after I have written it, I question it, and then after questioning it, I feel the natural thing should be there. Whatever was in my mind, I put it down.
If at
That
all I
should
have
be
to
there.
summarize here, but all I have to summarize here, I have to say that like first the creator comes out, later on the critics comes in.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
a poet should be not only a creator, he should be a critic of himself. Do you
Exactly.
agree with this?
First, primarily, the poet has to be a creator.
The creator, yeah, the artist.
Yes.
Later
Yes.
on, after the draft is done, like the
Yes.
critic should come.
Exactly.
Okay, he should be able to self-examine himself. He should be able
Yes.
to evaluate himself.
Yes.
So that is what you need to say, right?
Because sometimes it happens that after writing the poem, I feel, in this stanza, I should have added this emotion or this impulse, which is missing. This impulse should be added. So I haven't added it because I was in a haste. I was in a hurry. I just, jotted it down as it came from my, voice. So now I feel that I connect to the surroundings and I want to add this voice there. So that is the criticism.
Somdatta Mitra, this is your book, The
Yes.
Spectrum of Emotions.
Yes.
So
Thank you so much.
I feel like you have done justice to the book with all your thoughts, amalgamation of thoughts, and your poetic thoughts or your verses. You have done justice. Do you feel like you have done poetic justice
Poetic
to the
justice
subjects, to the subjects, to the themes which you have chosen?
I think the readers will tell me that.
No,
This
see,
is a kind of feedback that I expected from the readers, because
no.
they are
What
the
I mean to say
person.
is, coming back to the question, same question back again. Like you said, like we have a critic also, right? So after the completion of entire book or something, even a filmmaker for that matter, after the completion of the film or else completion of the script or anything, they feel like there might be something that I'm missing. I would have given even better performance or better understanding of it, or I would have still done better of it. This is what they feel. So, is there any feeling of that sort?
Every time I feel it that way after I write a poem.
So that is where I'm coming to.
Every time, whenever I'm writing a new, thing, new content. So after I complete it, I read it, I, question, as I said. Then again, I ponder over it and I think I should have written it in this manner.
Yeah.
So there are so many
That's what.
variations of a thought
Like
process.
we question ourselves and we ask like, have I done poetic justice to this poem? So that question that comes in. So that is where I was coming to.
Poet is never satisfied with what he or she has written.
Yeah. So
Every
only then
time there will be a jerk.
yeah, only
Every
then he
time
keeps
there will be
on
a kind of,
bringing in new layers of it.
tintabulation in
Yeah.
us. Okay. That, you could have done this thing. You could have written it in this manner. Why didn't you write it in this manner? These are the questions always they will, bother us.
So for the betterment of it, he tries to go on with another layer of thought. I believe so. He goes on adding another layer of thought, and he goes on with the flow. He get carried away with the flow, and he comes with another new verses of his own.
Yes.
So
Yes.
that's one thing. So when coming to your book, like I found this word Ubuntu, which is an ancient African word meaning humanity to others. It's
Yes.
often described as reminding us that I am what I am because of who we all are there.
Yes.
So that's a beautiful word that you have brought in, Somdatta. I should appreciate you for bringing that word, because I personally searched, let me be honest here, I personally searched in the dictionary as well as in the website, like what exactly Ubuntu is all about. So will you please let me know, like how did that word came up to you, and how did you describe it in your form of poetry?
I won't hide this at all. I'm very honest. Okay. So actually, I was participating in one poetry group where there was a writing challenge, a poetry
Okay.
writing challenge, and they had given this, topic as a theme to write on this word Ubuntu.
Word.
They
Okay.
had given the explanation over the meaning of that word,
Okay.
and that's how they motivated us to write.
Okay.
So
That's
there
nice.
were so many poets who had contributed. Even I
Yeah.
had contributed. So from there, I had, reserved it and preserved it, that someday I will publish this poem, this piece. So that's how
Yeah.
I had
When I
put this.
when I read the entire meaning of that word, like even I was awestruck. Like for poets, words are something that we need to play it around. Okay. If
Exactly.
not, we get such a word, na? Like
As I said just a few minutes back, that we are still learning. Our
yeah.
journey is not yet completed.
Yeah,
We,
a poet journey is something like they are on a travelogue. They are
yes,
on a
yes.
travelogue. It's not like a finished. It's not like some people they take themselves for granted, saying like once they have written some few poems or else like once they publish their book, they brand themselves as a poets and they say like we are published poets. But for me, it's like a journey. It's like a travelogue. We are on the travelogue. We are just writers of poems. I say like
Exactly.
I quote this. I quote this. We are just writers of poems.
I am a passionate explorer, and I am still exploring a lot of poetry written by legends,
Yeah.
and I always learn from them.
Cool.
There are so many poets who inspire us, who
Yeah.
inspire me, and through each of their works, I have a kind of, um, a kind of sensuousness, a kind of bonding, a kind of connectivity with their works, with the poet himself, who is an iconic, personality in my life. For example, I would relate one poet, and she is none other than Maya Angelou. She is
Mine.
one of my, yes,
I read it in your book.
yes, and another one is Sarojini Naidu, who is
Okay.
my role model. So
Okay.
there are
So
so many. I mean, I'm just mentioning these
I
two
read
people
your
as an
feminism
example.
through. I got to know your feminism through Maya Angelou, the Rising of the Phoenix, and the Uncaged Bird, which is wherein
I
like
mean,
we have
whenever I'm
discussed.
uttering her name, no,
Yeah.
whenever I'm uttering her
Get
name,
get
there is
goosebumps.
a kind of, there is an electrifying,
Vibration.
sense inside me
Yeah.
working. Now I feel like while I'm talking to you, I feel like writing two lines.
Okay.
It's a kind of motivation that we derive from the iconic
Like
poets.
in one poem, you write this. You have said this like several colors stamped in conundrum. I blend red and blue to make purple for a conflicts. I mix
Mm,
yellow and red to get amber.
mm.
Orange and gray could maneuver a polite gesture. Honestly, that's awesome line.
Thank you
Honestly,
so
that's an
much.
awesome line,
Thank
which
you.
I liked it. Poetically, see that is where the poet comes in. Like when we tap into the new writers, we need to see like where exactly he is good at. It's not like to find flaws. Like we need to appreciate where exactly is good. So that thing, like I look into that good factor. Well, on the other note, like definitely your book. I would like to say that definitely this book is not for the amateurish readers or writers of poetry to indulge in your poetry, but he who has an uncanny knack for comprehending beneath the alien words. This book is must read. This is what I feel.
Thank you so much for this honor and
Okay.
appreciation and
So,
encouragement. But
on this note,
along with this, I
yeah,
would like to add that my next book, which I will launch very shortly, within a few months, that will, contain poems for children, because I
oh,
love children, and I want to. This is also one of my dream, that I want to publish one book for children which they can read as a reader in their school.
cool, man. So as to summarize, like we have come to a fag end of the session. Like, would like to say something about it, about the show, the interviewer.
I am really fascinated. I am
Thank you,
so very, very encouraged, and
thank you,
rather, I received a kind of new uh, vision through this journey here today, in
thank
this
you.
session, in this poetry event, that I feel there should be more and more of Mr. Rao in multiple forums like this, and there
Cool,
should
ma'am.
be more of K. Kumar Prasanna in multiple platforms like this,
Cool, ma'am.
because
Thanks a
for
lot.
poetry to reign, we need such noble people like you.
It's not that of noble people. Like we want to extract the poetic vibe. So that is where we come from.
But how
Because
do that happen? Because noble people
yeah,
can think about
noble
lifting the
thoughts.
spirits. Yes.
Cool, man. Thanks a lot for coming onto my show, the interviewer. Thanks a lot once again. And I wish you will come up with a great success for the next book. Thank you. Signing
Thank
off,
you so
Laxman
much,
Rao.
sir. It's a pleasure to be here. I enjoyed the session very much with you. Thank you.
Same here, man. Thank you.